The cry in the market sky above Noria Prime was always gray. Wind howled through the open stalls of the alien market, carrying the smell of burned metal, boiled roots, and old rain. People from many worlds moved through the narrow postrators. Hunters, refugees, and shadows with no name. Jace, a middle-aged human with a rough jacket and a sharp eye, walked slowly through the crowd. His boots kicked up dust. He had come to buy parts for his ship, but deep inside, he knew he was looking for something more, something he couldn't name. That's when he heard it. A voice died soft at first, like someone talking to herself, then louder. Please, someone, please, help me. He stopped. Just near a broken stone pillar sat a woman, an alien, thin and shaking. Her skin was a soft violet, covered in dust and small bruises. Her dress was torn, and her silver hair was tangled with dirt. She held something in her hands, a glowing image, a hologram die showed a little girl, maybe 5 years old, smiling, holding a toy in her hand. My daughter, the woman whispered. She's missing. Please, someone find her. I'd have nothing left, but I'll give you everything, my food, my shelter, even. She stopped, then said softly, even my body, if you want it. People walked by. No one stopped. Some shook their heads. Others muttered things under their breath. Jace stared at her. His face stayed still, but his heart felt heavy. He stepped forward and knelt down beside her. What's your name? He asked. She looked at him with tired eyes. Lyria, where did you last see your daughter? Her lips trembled. 2 nights ago, near the waste towers. We were begging. She let go of my hand for 1 second. Just one. I turned in. She was gone. Jace nodded slowly. Why would you offer your body? He asked, not cruelly, but curiously. Tears filled her eyes. Because people here don't care unless they get something, and I have nothing left to give but myself. She covered her face with her hands. Jace looked down at the hologram. The girl had Lyria's eyes. A gruff voice called out behind him, move along. Human, you'll catch something. Jace turned to see a local trader sneering at him. She's been sitting there for days, the man said. Begged everyone. Pathetic. Jace stood up and looked at the man. What happened to her kid? The trader shrugged. Some say she was taken. Others think she just ran. Not our problem. Jace's eyes narrowed. Who takes children in this city? The trader's face turned cold. He leaned in closer. There's a name, but you don't say it out loud. Brings bad luck. Say it. The trader looked around, then whispered, Varnick. Jace turned back to Lyria. Do you know who Varnick is? She nodded slowly. He trades in lives, uses shadows to take the weak. No one dares fight him. Then it's time someone did, Jace said. He offered his hand. Lyria looked up, unsure. I'm not here to take anything from you, Jace said. I just want to help bring her back. Tears fell down her cheeks as she took his hand. As Jace walked her to safety, he looked up at the sky. The clouds were darker now, but something inside him was brighter. He didn't know the girl, didn't know the mother, didn't even know what Varnick looked like, but he had seen her cry, and that was enough. Asterisk the name no one speaks. Jace didn't sleep that night. He sat on a small bench outside an old shelter near the edge of the market. Inside, Lyria and the other homeless aliens slept on thin mats. She had cried herself to sleep holding the hologram of her daughter. Jace held a small cup of hot water in his hands. His mind wasn't calm. His past echoed through his thoughts. Missions he had walked away from. People he couldn't save. But now there was a missing girl, and he had promised. The next morning, he started asking questions. He went to weapon shops, food stalls, junk traders, anyone who might have seen something strange. Most people just shook their heads. One vendor, a tall lizard-like alien with red eyes, said, It's not your fight, human. Let the stars deal with their own. Another one hissed, You want trouble? Ask about Varnick. Jace kept going. Finally, he reached a dusty repair shack on the far side of the city. An old robot sat outside, missing one eye. Inside, a bearded man worked on scrap parts. He looked human, but his arms were metal, and his back was crooked. You got a name? The man asked. Jace, you. People call me Krog. You're asking around about a missing girl, right? Jace nodded. Her name's Sarah. Her mother's Lyria. They were begging near the towers when the girl disappeared. Krog stopped working. His voice turned low. There's a reason people don't talk, Jace. Varnick isn't just some street slaver. He's protected. He pays off guards. He runs the auctions on the shadow line. If you cross him, you vanish. I'm not afraid, Jace said. You should be. Krog reached under the table and pulled out a box. From inside, he lifted a small toy doll with one arm missing. Someone sold this to me 2 days ago. Said it was found near the scrap tunnels. Jace took it. It looked just like the one in the hologram. This is Sarah's, he whispered. Krog nodded. Then she was taken. And if she's alive, she's either on a ship heading to the outer markets or locked in one of Varnick's holding pens. Jace stood up. Where are they? Krog looked around carefully, then leaned close. There's a bar called the Dust Inn, past the Black Wells. Behind it, there's a gate. Varnick's men use it to bring in cargo at night. You didn't hear it from me. I owe you. Jace said. No, you don't. Krog replied. Just don't die. I like people who try to do the right thing. That night, Jace returned to Lyria. She was awake, sitting quietly near a heater made from old wires and scrap metal. I found something, he said. This is Sarah's, isn't it? Her hands trembled as she took the toy. Yes, this is hers. I think I know where she is. Her breath caught. Where? I can't say yet. It's dangerous. But I'm going after her. Lyria grabbed his arm. Wait, take this. She gave him a small pendant made of glowing stone. It's from my homeworld. When Sarah was born, I wore it every day. It brings peace. Jace tied it around his neck. He didn't say thank you. He just nodded and left. The streets were dark now. He walked past broken lights, past closed market stalls, past guards who looked the other way. He reached the bar the Dust Inn. Inside, creatures drank and laughed. Loud music shook the walls. Jace didn't go in. He waited in the shadows. At midnight, a large door opened behind the bar. The tall aliens came out, carrying something wrapped in cloth. A child-sized shape. Jace followed. They passed through a gate, down an alley, and into a large building with no windows. The guards entered a code. The door opened. Jace counted. 5 guards, 1 camera, 1 heavy lock. He memorized everything. Then he left. He would return tomorrow. But this time, not alone. Back at the shelter, Lyria sat with the toy in her hands, whispering her daughter's name. And in a quiet corner of the city, Jace sharpened his knife. He had seen enough. Now he was ready. Into the slaver's den the wind blew colder the next night. Jace wore a dark cloak, dirty with ash, to hide his face and body. Round his neck hung Lyria's glowing pendant, tucked under his shirt. He didn't bring a gun, only a small knife, a silencer for the camera, and a tool to cut wires. He had waited until the shadows were deep and the sky was quiet. He stood near the back gate of the slaver's building, just like last night. Only this time, he wasn't watching. He was going in. The guard stood near the door. They were big. One had a metal jaw, the other a tail that twitched every few seconds. They smoked something bitter, laughing in a deep alien tongue. Jace waited in the darkness. When one stepped away to relieve himself near the fence, Jace moved silently behind the second. One quick jab of his knife, a sleep dart, not a kill. The guard fell without a sound. The second guard returned and Jace took him down too. He pulled both bodies behind an old crate. Then he turned to the door. The lock pad blinked red, but Jace had studied it yesterday. He pulled out a small chip and slid it into the panel. Green light. Click. The door opened. Inside, the air was heavy, smelled like oil and sadness. The hallway was dark, lit only by dim red bulbs on the ceiling. Jace walked, slowly, quiet like a shadow. Each step, he listened, watched. He passed metal doors, each one locked, each one numbered. Some had strange sounds behind them, a cry, a whisper, a cough. Then he heard it, a small voice, Mommy. His heart jumped. He moved fast to the door marked C7. He peeked inside through the small hole. A little girl sat on the floor, hugging her knees. Her violet skin was covered in dirt. Her dress was torn, but her eyes, they were the same as the hologram. Sarah. Jace tried the handle. Lock. He reached into his bag, pulled out a wire cutter, and began to work. Seconds felt like hours. He looked down the hall, still clear. Then click. The door opened. Sarah gasped and crawled backward. Don't hurt me, please. Jace held up his hands. I'm not here to hurt you. Your mom sent. Meet Lyria. Remember her? Her eyes filled with tears. You know my mama. He nodded and smiled softly. She's waiting for you. We're going home. Sarah stood slowly. Her legs were weak, but she took his hand. Suddenly a loud alarm blared through the building. Red lights flashed. Jace looked up. No, a camera. Must have rebooted, or a motion sensor caught them. He picked up Sarah in his arms. Hold on tight. She wrapped her arms around his neck. Jace ran out through the hallway, past doors, toward the back. The guards appeared near the exit. Jace threw a smoke bomb cheap from a merchant days ago. Smoke filled the corridor. The guards shouted. Jace dashed through, coughing, but kept running, out the gate, into the dark night. He didn't stop. He reached the old junkyard nearby, ducked into a broken-down crawler. Sarah was shaking in his arms. Are you real? She whispered. He looked at her and smiled. I think so. She hugged him tighter. Jace took her to the hidden part of the shelter where Lyria had stayed before. He opened the old door quietly. Inside, Lyria was sitting on the floor, eyes closed, praying to the stars. When she saw Sarah, time stopped. She stood, tears spilled before words. Came, Sarah, Mommy. They ran to each other, crashing into a hug so deep and so full of love that Jace had to look away. He had seen many things in his life, fights, death, cruelty, but this was something worth living for. Later, as Sarah slept in her mother's arms, Jace sat at the edge of the room. Lyria looked at him. I offered you everything, she said softly, but you didn't ask for anything in return. Why? Jace shrugged. Because a child's life is worth more than a deal. You didn't need to give your body. You just needed someone to listen. She looked at him for a long time, then nodded. Double quotes. Thank you. But far away, under the dark lights of a space tower, someone watched a blinking red screen. A report had arrived. Sarah was taken. The human did it. A voice said only one word. Bring him to me. Asterisk. The escape through the stormed wind had changed. What was once dry and still was now full of dust, sparks, and whispers. Noya Prime was famous for its sudden storms, electric winds that could tear open metal doors. Jace knew that meant only one thing. Trouble was coming. Inside the shelter, Sarah was curled up beside her mother. Her cheeks still had traces of tears, but she was smiling in her sleep. Lyria kept holding her like she would never let go again. But Jace wasn't resting. He paced the room, checking his gear. He had no ship, no weapon strong enough to fight Varnic's guards, and now he had a mother and daughter to protect. He needed to run, and he needed to do it now. Outside, a local named Krog waited with a stolen hover sled, a small, fast vehicle often used for trash deliveries. You sure you want to do this? Krog asked. No choice, Jace said. They'll come for her. Varnic won't stop. Krog handed him a chip. This has a route. It'll take you to the canyon spires. There's a cave there, hidden, safe. Why are you helping? Jace asked. Krog looked away. Because someone helped my sister once, and I didn't thank him enough. Don't make me regret it. Minutes later, Jace helped Lyria and Sarah onto the hover sled. The wind howled, louder now, full of sharp static. As he took the controls, Lyria held Sarah close. You don't have to do this alone, she said. Jace smiled. I'm not alone anymore. And with that, they flew into the storm. The sled raced across the wasteland. Dust slammed into their faces. Lights flickered. Behind them, city lights vanished into smoke. Then red dots in the sky. Jace squinted. Varnics. Hunters. 3 black fires moved like shadows, scanning the land below. We've got company, he shouted. The sled's engine screamed as he pushed it harder. Bolts of red fire shot past them, lighting up the dark. Sarah screamed. Lyria covered her head. Jace swerved hard, dodging between rocks and half-buried ruins. A voice came through his stolen radio. Return the girl. Human. You'll get a quick death. Jace growled into the mic. Come and take her. He slammed a button. The sled released a cloud of smoke and sparks. The hunters fell back, confused, ahead sharp turns, narrow gaps, and glowing cracks in the ground. It was the lightning pass, the most dangerous part of the wasteland. Only fools or desperate people entered. Jace was both. He turned sharply. The sled bounced. Sparks flew, but he didn't slow down. Behind him, the hunters followed, but one got too close. Lightning struck the rocks nearby. The heat wave flipped the flyer. It crashed into a cliff. The other backed off, keeping a wider distance now. Sarah held tighter to Jace's arm. You promised we'd go home, she whispered. We will, he said. I swear it. They reached the canyon spires just before the sled's engine gave out. A cough and slowed. Smoke rising from its back. Jace jumped off, pulling Lyria and Sarah behind a rock wall. He guided them into a narrow opening Krog's cave. Inside, it was dry, warm, and full of old supplies. They were safe. For now, Jace sealed the entrance with stone, then sat down, heart still racing. He looked at the two beside him. Lyria was brushing Sarah's hair with her fingers. Sarah looked tired, but calm. "Do you think he'll come?" Lyria asked. "Varnick?" Jace nodded. "Yes, but now, he knows I'm not just a thief. I'm a shield." Deep in the shadows of the city, Varnick stood before a screen. On it, Jace's face. A guard said, "He escaped through the pass." Varnick's lips curled. "Send the beasts. Let them smell his guilt." Back in the cave, Sarah looked at Jace and asked one question. "Will you stay with us?" Jace didn't answer with words. He just pulled them both closer. He didn't care about the storm. He didn't care about VA or NOK. He had found something worth fighting for. The reunion that broke every morning light touched the edge of the rocky cave. The storm had passed, but the wind still carried dust and whispers from faraway engines. Jace stood near the entrance, watching the sky. He hadn't slept out behind him. Lyria and Sarah were curled together under a thermal blanket. Their breathing was calm, peaceful, for now, but Jace knew it couldn't last. They couldn't hide forever. If they kept running, Sarah would always be looking over her shoulder. Lyria would never be free, and Varnick, he would hunt others to know. This had to end, and the end had to happen where it all began. The market by mid-morning. Jace woke the others. Lyria looked at him, confused. "What is it?" "We're going back," he said. She sat up quickly. "Back? But Varnick, we're not running anymore." Sarah opened her eyes slowly. "Are we going home?" Jace looked into her eyes. "No, little star, we're going to build one." Krog met them near the edge of the city. He didn't ask questions. He just handed Jace a long black coat and a small calm piece. "Varnick will be watching," he said. "Be loud, be brave, and maybe others will follow." Jace nodded. Then they walked. The market was busy more than usual. Traders shouted, machines whirred. Hungry people begged for food, just like that day, just like when Sarah was taken. But now, she walked beside her mother, holding her hand. Some people noticed. Eyes widened, murmurs grew louder. "That's her. She's back." "How?" Jace stepped onto the old stone platform in the center of the market. It had once been used for selling goods. Now he used it for something else. He lifted Sarah in his arms, high enough for all to see. Then he shouted, "This child was stolen, and I brought her back. Varnick took her. Varnick hides behind fear and money. But today, we stand. Today, we fight." The market grew quiet. All eyes turned to him. Lyria stepped up beside him. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "She's my daughter. I begged for help. I offered my life, my body, my soul, and only one man stopped to care. Only one listened." She looked at Jace. "And now, I ask all of you, will you stand with us?" A long silence. Then a voice called out, "I lost my son to Varnick." Another said, "My sister vanished last moon." And then, "I'll stand. I'll fight." We're done being silent. People stepped forward. Not many, but enough. Jace smiled. They had lit a fire, and fire spreads. Suddenly a loud roar. A black vehicle tore into the square. It hovered inches off the ground, sleek and deadly. Doors opened. Guards spilled out, and behind them Varnick. He was tall, with pale skin and golden rings in his eyes. He walked slowly, confidently. "You have something that belongs to me," he said. Jace stepped down, putting Sarah behind him. "She's not yours. She was never yours." Varnick's face twisted. "You dare challenge me here, in front of your people?" "They're not your people anymore," Lyria said, her voice strong. Varnick lifted his hand. His guards raised their weapons, but before they could fire, bang! A flash bomb exploded from Krog's rooftop. Smoke filled the square. Jace moved fast. He pulled Sarah and Lyria into cover. People shouted. Guards fired blindly, but others, locals, traders, workers, started fighting back, throwing tools, swinging sticks, yelling Varnick's name like a curse. When the smoke cleared, Varnick stood alone. His guards were gone, beaten or fled. Krog stood beside Jace now, holding a wrench like a sword. "You always talk too much," he told Jace. Jace laughed. "Someone had to." Varnick reached into his coat, but Jace was faster. He slammed into him, pinning him to the ground. "You lose," he whispered. By the end of the hour, city guards, real ones, arrived, and for the first time, they didn't take Varnick's bribe. He was arrested. People cheered, others cried, but one moment silenced them all. Jace picked Sarah up again, held her high. "She's home," he said. And the market broke into tears. Lyria hugged him tightly. "You didn't just save her," she said. "You saved me too." Jace didn't answer. He just closed his eyes and held them both. Asterisk the decision that changed everything these past. The market square had changed. People walked without fear. Traders smiled more. Mothers held their children a little tighter. Varnick was gone, and the chains he had left behind were slowly breaking. And yet, Jace wasn't smiling. Not fully. He stood on the roof of an old building, watching the sun rise. The wind was soft now, peaceful, but his heart felt heavy. Below him, Lyria and Sarah were helping rebuild a shelter for other homeless families. They laughed together. Sarah's face no longer carried fear. She looked like any other child. Loved, free, but Jace had a choice to make, and it wasn't easy. Later that morning, city officials came to the shelter. They brought guards not for war, but for respect. A tall woman stepped forward. Her name was Counselor Venya. She looked at Jace and said, "You brought peace. You brought back one child. But in doing so, you gave hope to many." He didn't reply. She continued, "We owe you more than thanks. We want to offer you a position, protection, pay, a home, become a peace officer. Help us make sure this never happens again." Everyone around clapped. Even Lyria smiled, proud. But Jace didn't move. He looked at Sarah, then at the crowd. Then said softly, "No." The counselor blinked. I don't understand." "I'm not staying," Jace said. A hush fell over the crowd. "Why?" Venya asked. Jace looked around. "Because there are other children out there, still stolen, still afraid, still waiting for someone to come for them. If I stay here, I help one city. But if I leave, I might help 100. Lyria stepped forward, her eyes full of emotion. "And us? What about us?" He turned to her. Walked close. Held her hand. And whispered, "You saved me, too. But some people don't have someone like you. I need to be that person for them." Sarah walked up and hugged him tightly. "You're my hero," she said. Jace crouched down. "No, little star. You're the hero. You stayed strong when the world was cruel. You made it back. That's real strength." She smiled through tears. "Will you come back?" she asked. He nodded. "Every time I look at the stars, I'll think of you." She reached into her pocket and gave him something small, her toy, the broken doll, the same one he found in the junk shop. "She's missing an arm," she said, "but she's brave, like you." Jace took it carefully. It was the most valuable thing he had ever been given. That night, he packed quietly. Lyria stood in the doorway. "No one has ever done what you did," she said. Jace smiled. "You would have done the same for her." "I tried," she said, "but the world didn't listen. It's listening now." She reached out and touched his chest right where the pendant she gave him still hung. "It belongs to you now," she whispered. He nodded. Then walked into the night. He didn't go far, just far enough. A new name had reached his ears, a child. Missing in the Sky Farms. A trail left behind in dust and whispers, and a man with a purpose. A man with a heart full of fire and a hand ready to lift the broken. Jace didn't need a title, didn't need medals. He only needed one thing: to be the person who answers the cry no one else hears. Far away, Sarah stood at the window. She looked at the stars and whispered, "Come back soon." A new star in the skytime moved forward like a slow wind through the canyons. Months passed. Then a full year. The city where Sarah was saved had changed completely. There were no more children being taken. No more silence in the face of fear. And on the stone wall in the middle of the market square, a name had been carved. Jace, the one who answered. Every now and then, travelers would come, some looking for help, some bringing stories. Stories of a man in a long black coat, helping strangers, saving children, bringing light to the darkest places in the galaxy. Some said he had no home, others said he had hundreds, but no one doubted his purpose. Jace had become a symbol. Back in the city, Sarah had grown stronger. She helped her mother run a small center for lost children, those without homes, those who had been abandoned or who ran away from pain. She was still young, but wise. She would sit with new kids and say softly, I once thought no one would come, but someone did. And one day, someone will come for you too. One evening, Sarah stood at the top of a hill outside the city. In her hands, she held a small glass jar. Inside a glowing stardust. She had saved it for this moment. Lyria stood behind her. Are you ready? Sarah nodded. He said he'd think of me every time he looked at the stars. She opened the jar. The dust rose into the sky, sparkling as it flew up, higher, until it vanished into the night. People in the city stopped to watch, and one by one, candles were lit. Not in sadness, but in hope. Hope that wherever Jace was, he was still helping, still listening, still walking through the stars with fire in his chest and kindness in his heart. Far across the galaxy, on a frozen moon, a small alien boy cried in a cage. A guard kicked the bars and walked away. But just as the boy lost all hope, a shadow moved. A voice whispered, easy now, I've got you. The boy looked up. A man stood in the dark, holding a small broken doll in his coat pocket. His eyes were tired, but full of light. And he said only one thing, you're going home. Back in the city, Sarah looked up. A new star blinked in the sky. Bright, gentle, fierce. She smiled and whispered, he's still out there. And every child who looked up after that felt just a little less alone.